Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. I hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the show, and today, you guys, we're on episode 211, season 9 opener. Holy shit, you guys, we are on season 9, episode 211. I cannot even believe it. To be quite honest with you guys, I tried to record this episode already, and turns out I fucked up on my first episode of the season. Yay me, and this is now the second time I am going on here today to record this episode. So apologies if I get myself a little lost in the sauce, but I really wanted to get started. I really missed reporting for you guys and chatting, and today's episode is going to be about what to expect in season 9, some changes that are coming in, what are some similarities, what does that look like going forward, and also how to navigate the past seasons and past episodes of the show, and then just a little update on where I am in season 9. So that's what you're going to expect in this very first episode of season 9. So if you're here for that, stick around. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you, if you are listening on Rumble or Apple or Spotify, to turn on those notifications. If you can subscribe, that would be great. If you are listening on YouTube, to make sure to turn on those notifications and subscribe as well. If you are looking for me on social media this year and this season, you are only going to be able to find me on Instagram and TikTok. And as always, guys, thank you guys so much for all of the support in the past seasons, for this one, for what's to come. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the love and support. It's just insane to say that I'm on episode 211, to say that we're on season 9, to be able to share the new things that are coming and the different thoughts that I have is just absolutely so cool. So before anything else, thank you guys so much for everything and just always being here and just being a part of it and the whole journey. I hope that through watching me do the podcast, that maybe that inspires you to do something that you love, whether you know what the fuck you're doing or not, because I still do not know. But let's get into this episode, you guys. So let's start with some of the new things. For those that are listening on audio, I know you're not going to be able to see the visual changes. So let me just let you know what some of the changes are in the background. So I have moved my room around a little bit. We still got the egg chair. I moved the sign above the egg chair so you guys can see that every single time. I will be changing things up and doing different views, but I thought the sign above me will always have it in view, which last season I wasn't able to see. So the egg chair was added in season 7, I believe it was. Yes, season 7. And then in season 8, I got the lights here, and then I brought the lights in the background. And then for season 9, for those that can't see, I have a mic holder. I was going back through the seasons and trying to decide what it is that I wanted to do a little bit differently with the layout, the content, but even just the set itself. So make sure I refreshed my little shelf here, and I'll be adding things and changing it up as I go. And mostly the microphone is something that I have constantly, it's been driving me nuts. I absolutely love this one that Grant got from me a couple years ago when I first started, and it came on a stand and it was great. And I would hold it between my legs on this stool, but it just got super cramped. I would always trip on it. I'm sure you guys have been in episodes where I've knocked stuff over. There's a couple that I had to edit because I just kept ripping all of the cords out. So some things have changed. I've moved my camera back a little bit further so you can see a little bit more. The colors are going to change in the background. We added a little bit more fairy lights that I keep hitting here, so this will probably have to move next episode. I'm going to change the colors, like I said, and now it's just my little corner, and I could just kind of move this in and out as I need, and I'm not going to promise that I'm not going to hit it because I am French deep down inside, so I do speak with my hands. That's why I'm trying to sit on them, so I'm not so expressive, but hopefully this helps me from getting all caught up in all of my wires. And as well, I got a new laptop for Christmas thanks to my amazing future husband, so I definitely have that in the set now with a little bit more. And guys, I don't know if you thought about this, and maybe you don't have another project, but some things that I am is I like to be cost effective with something, so I don't like to pay for YouTube. I'm sorry. I do have to listen to the ads, which was fine, but also when you use YouTube, you can't exit out. So I never thought about this, but most of us have a case with an extra phone in it. So another thing, luckily, that I can have this season is have notes on my phone instead of always trying to get on my laptop and play with stuff. And that's always when things mess up. So now I have my phone with my notes so I can read from that. But yeah, this season is super exciting. Some things are going to change besides the background. So what are some things to expect to change in season 9? Well, it's still going to be me as a solo host going in through this next year of it. Spent the last 2 seasons doing that by myself, and I'm super excited. But as I was gathering and getting ready for season 9 and trying to set in all of the different episodes I wanted to have and get all the guests in, it became very apparent to me that I don't have as many opportunities for guests that I would like to because I was putting filler episodes in, like Keeping Up with Canada and one in the actual internet for seasons 7 and 8. Because those were my first solo seasons, I really wasn't sure what that would look like for guests, if I was going to be able to get that many, just with my crazy schedule and everyone's crazy schedule. Can I fit people in? So leaning on those series of Keeping Up with Canada and what the actual internet were really great, because I could add guests if I wanted to, but equally so could also not have them and just hit the episode by myself if the recordings didn't work out. And I absolutely love those series. Everything about them has been so great. If you've been around on the show, you have seen the progression of starting with the first 2 seasons, more talking to everyone's experiences and guest interviews. And then we started getting into more like deep receipts and coming with a bunch of research and things that we found on the internet, and with always sprinkled in with the obviously the guest interviews and stuff, because that is absolute my favorite. But I wanted to bring both, and then we had a full team, so we're able to do a lot, and then now dial down to just me, and now coming up to season 9. So that being said, I had, like I said, put in all the people, and then I'd realized I only, oh my goodness, what's my hair's doing? I only had about 6 or 7 spots left. Early on, I had decided in planning season 9 that I was going to do what in the actual internet and take that off and put that on YouTube. And then in recent days before leading up to this, of course, last minute, I decided that I also am going to remove Keeping Up with Canada from the podcast and put that over to YouTube on what is going to be known as the Be Real Babe show. And I want to start my YouTube channel a little bit differently, and then have the podcast kind of being separate. Now, there's several reasons for that. First foremost is that YouTube usually bans me on when it comes to my episodes with guests that share their opinion, especially if it doesn't align with YouTube guidelines. Not that I make money on it, not that it matters, but I also do want to kind of provide on each platform what I see is popular. And unfortunately, those ones get suppressed. They don't get watched as much on YouTube because I feel like YouTube's more of an entertainment, like, yes, there's a lot on there for information, do not get me wrong, but most of the time people do go there for their internet tea or what's going on. So I feel like the human interest pieces just don't get valued as much as they do on Rumble and Spotify and Apple. So we're going to do a little bit of separation of state and home here, where the podcast is going to remain on Rumble. I did this last time too, on Rumble, Apple, and Spotify. So where they normally have and always will be. And it's going to be what in the actual internet segments, and the Keeping Up with Canada is going to move to YouTube only. So I'm going to separate the two. On the podcast every Friday, you're going to have the same thing as you always do. You're always going to get an episode of Real Talk with me and a guest on every Friday, same platforms. It's just not going to be on YouTube anymore. So you'll have to go over to Spotify, or you can use Rumble is free as well, and which would be great because it's definitely the less sensory platform. And I know that Apple is actually my biggest platform, but not everyone has Apple Podcasts, so I understand that. So that's why I'll continue to upload to Rumble, so that those that don't want to pay for Spotify or don't want to listen to ads, unfortunately, Rumble is going to have ads too, but I guess just depending on what you want to listen to. And of course, it will always be on Spotify, and I'll always have video on Spotify as well. So if you do pay for that or want to listen to ads, it'll be on there. And then, like I said, the Be Real Babe show is going to not have anything that has on the podcast. It's going to be 2 uploads a week, hoping, guys, this might take me a little bit, but the idea is, again, Keeping Up with Canada is going to be a weekly episode, but instead of like an hour long, it's probably going to be, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour of just what's going on that week, articles that I found, things that I think I want to think about, some comment sections, what you guys think. So Keeping Up with Canada is going to get the same title, you'll see that every week it'll be a weekly recap of Keeping Up with Canada on YouTube. And then the other part of that is the What in the Actual Internet is being rebranded to Weekly Recaps Internet Insanity. So it's going to be all the tea that I get online that I see, whether that's something crazy that I found on internet, whether that's something on some drama on TikTok, whether that's some Hollywood or celebrity gossip. It's going to be a mixture of all. And again, it's just going to be a little cup of tea with me, a little nice, going to get cozy in the egg chair, get a little closer, dial right in and just read some random shit online and just kind of keep those, see, I'm going to hit it all the time. Keep those things separate because it's just different platforms are really requiring different things. And again, with censorship and all that, I just want to keep YouTube predominantly seems to like the gossip stuff, the celebrity stuff, the internet insanity, and I will obviously cross promote on both TikTok and Instagram. Again, making another decision this year that I am going to abandon Facebook entirely after having my account shut down so many times, you guys. It's absolutely not worth it. I'm super sick and tired of all of that with Meta and all that, and Facebook is just not it for me. It doesn't seem like it's a very great place to communicate. It doesn't seem to put you out unless you pay, which is totally fine. So it just seems like I'm wasting time. And same with Pinterest. Pinterest isn't really a place for a podcast. It's great for everything else. And maybe my other business that I will be launching next year, later this year, that will loop into the podcast. But as of right now, just Instagram and TikTok only, and just trying to figure out which platforms like what and blending both shows. So expect to see a new YouTube video Mondays and Wednesdays with a new podcast on Fridays. Again, it could change a little bit. It might take me time to switch up doing YouTube videos versus podcasts and just trying to do it all, but I'm hoping if I can condense and separate and make some things a little bit quicker, that would be really great. Another thing, the reason is that because with the podcast and the interviews and just all the work it takes to go in there, I'm usually recording about a month in advance, especially with people to interview, locking down their schedule. So super important for me that I felt like every time I would record something when it came to like internet drama or Keeping Up with Canada, I would quickly be incorrect or not out of touch, but like missing information because it was about 3 or 4 weeks after the fact. So hoping that with the new way of doing this with YouTube and the way I want to line it up, and especially just being by myself, is that I'm hoping throughout the week I can grab a couple articles that I'm seeing, some comment section questions, get on here on a Saturday morning before I wake up, before I even do anything, get with my pajamas, clean pajamas. I'll put on some fresh jammies for you guys, and we'll talk about the internet tea and Keeping Up with Canada. So that will be there to expect. But I also want to go through the last couple seasons quickly and also go through those 2 series specifically. So if you wanted to know how to navigate those episodes or what seasons to go back to while you're waiting for new ones to drop in this season, I want to give you guys a little idea, and also just want to preface how different the world was when I left. As of right now, just to keep up with everything, Parliament is still frozen in Canada here by the time this launches. I think it's supposed to be reopened a couple weeks after this launches, so we'll see. That is something I want to bring over to the YouTube channel. There's also been lots of updates on all of the characters that I talked about in What in the Actual Internet, so a lot of that is probably going to be updated on the YouTube show as well, the Be Real Babe show. So before we go into the last season that we just had, I just wanted to go over season 8 quickly and then through the series so that you guys get an idea of how to navigate that. I just want to thank you guys so much again, and I really appreciate it. I'm really going to work in season 9 to bring you guys more guests. I see that you absolutely love those pieces. I love that as well, because then you get to know people, you can connect with them. The guest always seems to get amazing messages after and how they've changed people's lives, and to be able to foster those kind of relationships with my guests, with myself, with my listeners, that means so much to me. And as much as I've been like I don't think I've been crazy politically divisive in the past, the goal for 2025 is definitely unity through experiences. So as much as Keeping Up with Canada is going to be stuck to the more political when I'm reading and stuff, at the other side of that, I would like to bring people on the podcast that have been affected by Canadian policies or things that are going on within our government and within our country, so that we get truly an idea of what's going on and not just what's being fed and glamorized on mainstream media. So that will be my goal, is that I will still obviously talk about what's going on in the world in the podcast. Do not get me wrong. It's not like I'm running from that, but I really would like to come at it in a place where we're understanding each other's experience, because then it breeds more compassion and empathy, and we just get to add another, like, I don't know, I kind of want to say another filter to our lens, and another, I don't know, I guess I'm a photographer, you keep it that way, where it's like another ability to change something, to have a little bit more, right? Like, we're always afraid of what we don't know. So if we can learn from each other a little bit more with each other's experiences and the lenses that we're looking through, maybe we could be more compassionate, therefore come together more. Or maybe I'm just fucking delusional. Either way, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying my best here, you guys. And I think I noticed that I've got like a purple tinge on this side, so I might have to work with these colors a little bit, but we're trying. It looks like it's recording, guys, so fingers crossed that we're doing good. So let's go over season 8. It was such a great season, you guys. Thank you again so much for listening. In season 8, we hit 17,000 plays just before New Year's, which is incredible. And since then, it's shot up almost 500 plays since. So you guys, 2025 is going to be nuts, I feel like. And the end of 2024 just really ramped up. And the first month of 2025 was pretty epic as well. So thank you guys for sticking around. And I hope you see the progression in myself and recording and as a host and as an editor and all the things that I'm trying to do. And I truly hope that I just inspire you to do something that you dream of. When I was younger, there's lots of things that I wanted to be. We always wanted to be different things, but journalism has always been something that I enjoy, but I just don't like the sticky journalist news, mainstream media. So this is like the perfect way for me to be able to be creative and report on stuff and research and connect to people. So really, really, guys, thank you so much. I don't think you guys realize how, sorry, it's so dry right now, how much listening and supporting the show really means to me, and what a lifelong dream it is just to do this, whether this isn't something I make my money with. Obviously, I have a day job, that career that I just love as well, but to be able to come on here after work, or, look forward to the interviews that are coming up this season, which are absolutely incredible already. But quick note on that, if you do want to get on the episode, any episodes, oh, my hair is in my face and it's tickling it. If you do want to get on an episode, please reach out to me right away. Like I said, I'm booking pretty much in April now for May and June shows. That's kind of where we're at. So if you do want to get on the show or know someone, please send them my way right away. Please let me know. But yeah, let's go through. I'm going to have a drink here. Let's go through season 8. And then we'll kind of go through both series, so you guys can go back if you want to, if any of these topics sound familiar to you, maybe screenshot or screen record whenever I'm doing one of the series, so that you can go back to know which episodes do what. So season 8 catch up. So right away we started with 191 with our favorite anti-MLM advocate, Kalika. This is her 3rd time on the show. You guys absolutely love the anti-MLM content. I know it's very aligned to a lot of people's personal experiences, and they feel very validated. As those of you may know, that was the first rabbit hole I fell down on YouTube, and felt super validated because your girl has been burnt by several, and the amount of DMs that I have from people and MLMs is insane. And as much as I don't like saying the words anti and pro, I definitely am leaning towards, I guess I don't want to say that. I am pro informed consent. So I guess for me, as much as it's something I wouldn't choose, as long as you are informed of what the model is set up and you're not sold false hope or false thoughts, then do whatever you want to do, but please, do not mislead people, and be aware if you're being misled. So 191 was with Kalika, and I definitely want to have her back. I almost have her back every season so far to check in to see where MLMs are. I know there's a bunch that have closed since we've talked, and as we were talking, there was some things going on and some drama in that space as well. And a lot of things that we talk about is the mind control, the relationships, and all that kind of stuff that comes with being a part of multi-level marketing, and ties to some cult-like behaviors. And I mean, hey, there's cult-like behaviors everywhere. So as long as we can call it out, that's when we're not in a cult, right? And unfortunately, you call out MLMs and then people just lose their shit. So 191 for those that like anti-MLM content. I don't know why I'm looking at this camera. Yes, so on to 193 was about BC elections. Super interesting. At the time, we hadn't elected dumbfuck EB. I'm sorry. I was going to try and be more balanced. We hadn't elected this fella yet that got elected. So he's in now, and it looks like, as thought, he's not keeping promises, and he's backed out on some things, but he definitely paid his MPs, allegedly, a decent amount of money, and then is also trying to weigh in on this tariff war and talking trash about Trump and all those kind of things. And it's just like, brother, please sit down. There's not many adults in the room, and you are not one of them. That's kind. I didn't say mean words there. So definitely go back to that episode. And I want to go back in about another year because I want to let it simmer a little bit and see what I said and go back to, okay, these are what he said his policies were. Did he follow up on it? And I'd just be curious because it sounds like, nah. Then 195, I had the pleasure of having the RKH, aka Raminder, back on the show. For those of you that know that you've been around for a while, she is a lawyer turned spiritual healer. She shares so much on social media about spirituality and, human design. If you're wanting to book with her, she definitely does all of the good things that make you feel and help you get to your purpose, to understand life a little bit more. Like I said, with human design, we talk about that. We talk about her journey and all of her advocacy, going from a lawyer, which is, very different than what she's doing now, and what that was like, what it was like to, tell people in your life what it's like to make such a big jump from one job to the other. But, she's always known, because I think if you just know that you're here to help others, you just know, right? So beautiful, beautiful episode with Raminder, 195. And then we have the amazing Sarah Sajunian back on episode 197, Being Real, about speaking up for healthcare. As we know, Sarah was a part of the Canadian Frontline Nurses that we had on a couple seasons prior to that. And this time she brought her amazing, beautiful, caring, wonderful friend, Nordia. These women are just absolute firecrackers. They're out there advocating, and they started Canadian Frontline Advocates together. And essentially they're there to help you advocate for your health and help you navigate the crazy healthcare system the best that they can and make sure that you get informed consent. This episode was amazing. If you want to learn more about informed consent and what some people are saying that are outside and are leaving the Western medicine, and what they're looking at now and the healing and all that. Beautiful episode, guys. Highly recommend episode 197. And then we have our beautiful Bella returning for episode 199 for BII recovery. So those that have been here a long time know that I am a huge advocate for breast implant illness. I believe this was the 8th episode I had specifically on that topic, and this was Bella's 2nd episode. She was one of the very first guests that I had on the show. I had met her just months before she actually went through this whole debacle online, and I kind of watched her go through her whole breast implant illness journey. And so it was really, really, really beautiful to have her on the episode. I believe it's episode 50 or 51. I'll have to go back. I can't quite remember. I can't remember if it was vaccine injury or breast implant, which one came first, but it was right after the Botox episode with Gretch. And I was just so in awe of the strength that Bella had then. And keep in mind, this was December 2021. So having her back on the show at the beginning of season 8, which would have been, around this time, it would have been like maybe October 2024. So we're almost looking 3 years later and looking at her recovery now, and, just the beautiful individual that she is and all the mindset work and everything that she did, some really raw truths in that episode. And I will never not appreciate everything with this beauty. She helped me break out into this one area that I really wanted to talk about. And so super grateful she came back as well. And for the first episode that we did back in 2021. And then it was time to celebrate the 200th episode with My Babe Hales. Holy shit, guys, 200 episodes. The fact that I'm even still saying that is crazy. So I'm not going to go crazy into depth about the past seasons, because me and Haley talk about that in episode 200. We go through the past, we go through our journey together, when she met, all those kind of things, and just like the whole show in general, what led us up to 200 episodes. That's why I'm not going to go too deep into all of this past seasons. I'll just kind of high level at the end here. So that was a really beautiful celebration episode. I also, got the sign for the 200th episode. That was the whole idea. Brought my lights into it to kind of jazz it up a little bit, because I hadn't had the money or time to even get this for the show. So I was kind of bummed out, and I was like, well, I'll wait till season 9. And I just said, fuck it. I'm going to do it before. Let's do it for 200th episode, which was great. So I love that. And then episode 201, right after that, we have Torva and Donovan joining me for a real talk about cancer. Now, in the past seasons, we had talked to them about their experience with the healthcare system. We called out government. And in this episode, I really, really wanted to focus on what it was like for Torva to be diagnosed with cancer, and for her family, and also what that felt like for Donovan, and what it's like to be a husband with someone at the time that was in remission is now also battling again. By the time this episode airs, I'm not sure where she's going to be in her fight, but she is continually fighting, guys. So please always, always keep Tor Van Donovan and their family in your thoughts and your prayers. And if you can shed any extra money, if you have any little bit counts, please head to their GoFundMe account and help them, and definitely go listen to their story. Make sure you share it. Make sure that when, you know, you're saying that healthcare is great and amazing in Canada, that you please remember their story and all the stories that they have brought into light over the last little bit. Also just absolutely adore these individuals. So please always send your prayers, thoughts, loves. You guys know I love you guys. Thank you so much for being on my platform to help me share this, because cancer is a really hard thing to talk about, you guys, and I totally fucking, for all reasons, understand why, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't be talked about, and that's really something that I always want to do on the show, is have those hard conversations, because Candace Owens said this one time, and I know not everyone loves her, but I just thought this is really important. She said that her husband, she didn't want to watch something that was like a child being abused or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she said it's just too hard to watch. And he turned around and said, well, if you can't watch it, imagine what that person's going through. So it's like, it's always easy to turn around and pretend that these things don't happen when it doesn't happen to you, but it's there. And I think it's really important that we know that these stories exist, and we don't just get involved and start speaking out and understanding what's going on with our healthcare systems, our government, all of that, until it hits our home. Sometimes we have no choice. Everyone gets hit with their awakening. I totally get that. But because I got hit with my awakening in the pandemic through that whole thing, that's where I'm just like, yo, we need to talk about this, and we need to talk about hard conversations so that, you know, we can get to the bottom of these things and not shy away from the hard conversations, because if you can't even have a conversation, imagine what that person's going through, I think was what I was trying to get through. Now my phone and my laptop just went on sleep. So please, baby Jesus, I hope this continues recording, because I don't want to have to do this a third time. I'll do it for you guys. If I have to do it a third time, but like, fingers crossed, this is still fucking working. Okay. We're all learning. We're learning here. If anybody knows how to run a Mac and Riverside at the same time, please help me out. I would love to. Here. So carrying on this season 8, finishing up, one of my last episodes of this season was episode 203. I finally got my future husband, Grant, on the show. Although he's a supporter of everything I do, he does not come on the show. He is not a podcaster. He's not really a podcast listener. So it's definitely something that is my own goal, that he viciously supports and will do anything for me, but I just haven't dragged him on. And like I said, I was struggling at Christmas time. It's just a very hard time to get people in, guys. At the end of the year, New Year's, it's just crazy time to get guests on. So I was definitely having a little bit of a struggle bus at the end there. So I just looped him in. He came home, perfect time from camp. And I was like, we're going to do an episode. I got the girls to write a bunch of questions. We're very blessed with having a lot of cheerleaders in our relationship. And so I just thought that would be really fun to kind of get to know us a little bit more as a couple. Even though I definitely have talked about him and are live on the show, I just thought it would be fun. And he did such a good job. I was so proud. And of course, he had the great, beautiful Canadian mustache, oil field mustache going on at that time too. So cute. It's very cute. We're dressed up in Christmas. I didn't think about it. I had to hold the microphone. I had us both crammed in here. Both of our legs were asleep. But it was, from what I heard, you guys really love that episode. So I'm definitely going to loop him back in the next season or two to get him back on here. But also going to keep him as a backup, because it's perfect to just like loop him in when I need, if another episode doesn't happen. So definitely go check out episode 203 if you want to hear a little bit more about me and Grant's relationship and the questions the girlies came up for us. And then to end the year, kind of begin the year, I talked about online safety. So not only did I talk about my experience of getting hacked in 2024, which I do not wish on my worst enemy. Everything got hacked. I lost all my social media accounts besides the podcast somehow. I'm like terrified I'm going to lose it one day. I had to reset. They literally got into everything, you guys. They got into my email from 15 years ago, and they took over everything, took money from me, went into my Wealthsimple. It was a fucking disaster that I still have to deal with today. I'm still dealing with stuff a year later. So I talk about that whole experience and what I went through. And then I also bring a couple stories that came to my vision just at the beginning of Christmas time holidays, about some of the dangers of online that I didn't even think of because I don't have a child. So if you are a child with, no, you shouldn't be a child listening to the show for fucking one. If you're a parent with a child, doesn't matter the age, I really think it's important to listen to this episode to get an idea of what are some of the ways that your child could be kind of abused, groomed, whatever word you want to use, taken advantage of, manipulated online, and what can you do, and just to be aware, right? So I talk about 3 different stories where an autistic young boy kind of gets manipulated by ChatGPT about talking about ending his parents, and that's scary. And then we talk about a young boy who lost his life to fentanyl through a Snapchat drug exchange, and obviously very difficult to lay charges on Snapchat. And then also there was a sextortion scandal of a young teenage boy down in the States. His dad was a politician. He got looped up with someone on Instagram, sent some naughty pictures, and then they extorted him, and he ended up taking his life, unfortunately, because of the stress of all of that. And then they started going after the family and the parents after. And you guys, it's just a plethora of shit out there. I really recommend going to find the Instagram account Scrolling to Death and follow her. If you're a parent, I think it's super important to be aware of what's going on. And then I'm very, very blessed that in January I was able to have 2 last beautiful guests of the season, so you guys didn't have to deal with me by myself. Thank goodness it worked out. Finally, I got some girlies on the show, 2 of my favorite human beings on earth. The first one being one of my besties, Darian, for her first episode. You guys are going to see her again in season 9. I'm so excited. And we talked about body dysmorphia. I know this is a huge topic that people love to hear about, and so I was really glad to be able to bring another episode, especially with someone that I admire in the gym and her strength and resilience and her journey as well to her self-love. So definitely go check that one out, because I think it's always so interesting when we have body dysmorphia conversations that we can all grow up in different areas and different mindsets with different ways that our parents dealt with it, but still end up having a form of body dysmorphia, good, bad, or the other. And I think it's a journey that everyone goes on. And I guess it really just depends on when you are, how much money you have, what you're doing, what your environment is depending on how you regulate that or don't, or cover it with addictions or whatnot. So very beautiful episode 207 about body dysmorphia with my girl, Darian. And then last but not least, someone that I have been harassing for a long time. Not a long time. That's total shit. I asked her in the fall because I finally got balls to ask Sanit onto the show. And if you know me, you know how much I absolutely love this woman. She is someone that I have looked up to for a very long time. And I decided in season 8 that I was going to be a big girl and ask some big ones out there that I had been looking up to come on the show. And she was so sweet and amazing. And we got booted off of YouTube within 57 seconds of that episode airing. So 209 is not on YouTube. Another huge deciding factor why I'm removing that shit off of YouTube and just keeping it on the podcast, because Spotify didn't say shit, Rumble didn't say shit, Apple didn't say shit, but YouTube would not let me update any rendition or anything of that fucking episode. So amazing episode, guys. We talk almost 2 hours. It's incredible. If you love Sanit, you know Sanit speaks on Twitter, Instagram, X, whatever it's called. You know she is Trudeau's biggest fan, and just all around amazing human being. She shares all of her insights, her personal journey with pharmaceuticals and all that kind of stuff. It's just an all around good episode. Perfect way to end season 8 and essentially starts 2025 for me. So it just really ended the season on a beautiful note. That wasn't the season finale. I'll get to the season finale was the 10th and final one in the actual internet that's going to air on the podcast, which we'll go through in a second here. But yeah, just perfect final interview. Both of the girls for 2025 are such inspirations for me in different ways. And so it was such a beautiful way to end season 8. And you know, we're going to start season 9 just as amazing. I promise you that. Okay, so that is what season 8 looked like. We've talked about the new season. We've talked about the new layout of what to expect on YouTube, what to expect on the podcast. Now let's go through the 2 series that are now moved over to YouTube. So if you're wanting to go back and start at some other episodes and you want to see more about those series, I know sometimes with the titles, it made it a bit difficult to know what that was about. So let's go through that now, and then I'll quickly run through past seasons episodes so you can go back to them if you are waiting for new episodes. But like I said, there's going to be a new podcast every Friday and hoping to have 2 YouTube videos a week, hoping to aim Monday and Wednesday. I'm going to try my best, you guys, but it's new, so thank you for being patient. So let's start with Keeping Up with Canada. This started in season 6. So the first episode, we talk about Bill C-18, which is the Online News Act. As we know, through Canada, the censorship through the last couple of years has gotten worse. So bringing that to you guys. We also talked about Bill C-47 for the first time, not the last time for sure. That showed itself to be a budget bill, but deep within that budget bill, there was some attacks on natural remedies, putting them more in the same world as pharmaceuticals, which we don't want. We know for many reasons why we don't want that. We also talked about dates for provincial and federal elections. So even though this would have been the spring of 2024 is still relevant today because we were looking ahead with the federal elections and whatnot. And we also talked about the fires in Canada because there was tons. The one in Jasper hadn't happened yet, but there was a bunch going on in Alberta and BC, obviously. We were just talking about the mismanagement there. Crazy. Now looking forward to the fires in LA and all that kind of stuff. And obviously before that, it was in Lahaina. So that was the first episode in season 6 with Keeping Up with Canada with Haley. And then the second one, we talked about BC11 again, which is another kind of online reporting. It's a broadcasting requirements and basically starting to include the internet and broadcasting, and that whole kind of spiraled into all the other shit that Trudeau did down the road. We also talked about the Million March for Kids and the division with the SOGI program, however you want to say it. So that's a sexual orientation and gender identity something inclusion. Sorry, these things change all the time and you guys change the abbreviations and you add and take numbers away, but essentially it's about gender ideology and sexual orientation in schools, which we know how I feel about that. Again, that's something that I think should be where we need to separate home and state. And to me, that is something you teach at home, just like religion and culture and all that kind of stuff to develop their personalities, their understanding of the world. And school should be stuff that is applicable things to be a functioning human in society. Of course, does that have to have some human connection? Of course, that's why you have music and language arts and all those things. But I think a lot of Canadians and myself will feel like that gender ideology and sexual conversations can happen not in kindergarten. So we talk about that. Number 3 is our first conversation about maids and the maids program, understanding that we definitely need organizations like Dying with Dignity. Jesus. Sorry guys, this is the second time I'm going to keep screwing up some of the words nonstop. Although I can be compassionate and understand that this program needs to be available, I think that I'm just always terrified of the length that this is going and all the different avenues that this is going in. And instead of trying to fix the issues that we have going on, we're now going to just offer people maids. It's one of the biggest cause of death in Canada, and it is alarming at best. And the fact that a lot of people aren't calling this out is kind of terrifying, but we have been for quite some times, guys, because this is not the first time the MAID program is brought up on this episode or on the season or on this show, but this is the first one that me and Haley talk about. That's number 3 in season 6. Then we speak about universal basic income and the homelessness. Again, this is season 6 with Hales, and essentially we were calling out that universal basic income will work just as good as the COVID relief benefits. So anybody that is going through that now can probably say that it's awful and they are trying to take a ton of money back, and that a lot of people are getting bills. A lot of people are getting bills allegedly that money they didn't even get. They're struggling to talk to people through this. So just reiterating that when we said UBI wasn't going to be good for these reasons, it looks like we might be right on that one. Didn't want to be, but here we are. And homelessness problem, guys, that's never gotten better. This is where I want, again, Liberals and NDP to really look. Like we talked about this years ago and how bad it was. So please tell me how your administration, your side, your boys are doing good on this, because it's been a year and a half and it's not gotten better. Number 5, we talk about the pandemic follow-up and everything that we had felt during the pandemic, what it was like to go through it unvaccinated, come out on the other side. And at this time, we didn't even know half the things that we were talking about was true. So I might have to do a follow-up, that one with Hales, because like I said, this is a year and a half ago, and since a lot has come out. And, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I definitely suggest, if you don't know what it was like, if you have an unvaccinated friend, talk to them, ask them what it was like, because they're going through, they have PTSD every winter. Every winter, I think all of us can't breathe. Every time something else comes out, we're like, oh my God, are they going to do this again? And then now look at the consequences for, they're lowering the age of when kids, or heightening the age of when kids should learn stuff. There's so many things that have come out about the massive repercussions from some of these decisions. So I think it's super important to revisit. Number 6 was the first time that I had open minds on Keeping Up with Canada, not the first time on the show, but in season 6, I had him come on. Again, we talked about the MAID progression. And I think that's where really kickstarted Christopher's want to learn more about this program. He reports on it a lot, so please go follow him, Christopher, on the Open Minds podcast. He's been on the show several times. In this episode, we also talk about like a harm reduction, how some policies just really aren't working, political talk. What does that look like for Pierre? What's Trudeau doing? What's Jagmeet doing? We also just talk about what it's like podcasting and being vocal, and what it's like to learn how to speak more of your truth and try to bring Canadians together when it seems like a lot of mainstream media and other people and politicians are just trying to rip them apart. So beautiful first conversation about Keeping Up with Canada with Christopher. Again, we'll see him again this season. Number 7, I believe is the first, I think this is the first one of season 7, sorry, is with Hales. And we just literally Wikipedia'd and Googled political scandals. And spoiler alert, most of it is Liberal and NDP. And again, guys, we're censored, and this is the shit that we just found on Google and Wiki. So it's really not that hard, and it's out there. So imagine what we're not allowed to see. That's my question. And it seems to be like 4 or 5 outdated. So what's going to come out of 2023 to 2025? Go and look on those wiki pages, and maybe I'll get Hales to come back and we'll do a follow up with political scandals and Pandy fallout. Let's call it Our Politicians Are Fucking Stupid. Just kidding. Don't sue me. Don't come after me. Number 8, I had Torva and Donovan come back on. Torva brought up the Bill B36, which is the Health Professionals and Occupation Act. A lot of scary shit's happening in BC. I don't even know how to start with that one, so please go to that episode yourself and have a look, because a lot of stuff is pretty much gagging all of our health professionals in BC and making their lives miserable. Putting patients first seems to be what they can't operate in now. It's putting whatever the regulatory bodies that are now merged together more, they get to decide. So cool. Also talking to Torva about her experience with BC Healthcare herself, right? So it's like these policies actually affect people, and that's what I was kind of alluding to, that I really want to have more conversations on in season 9, are individuals that are being affected by these policies and these systems. And then we talk about Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act. Again, more censorship, more worries about like censoring speech and freedom of speech, which we fucking hate. And then Donovan dives in deeper to Bill C-47, which in earlier episodes we had thought that it wasn't that big a deal. It sounded originally that we were just going to be looking at, collecting data for risks and reactions and all that, which I was all for. I think that's really great. If someone has a natural remedy and they have experience and something happens, like a side effect, I feel like that should be recorded. But in true fashion, that's not where they're taking it. They're taking it to, they need to be regulated just like pharmaceutical facilities, which they just don't have the money. There's just none of that. It's just insane, which I don't agree with, again, at this time. Then in the next episode, number 9, which was the last one for season 7, I talked about Bill C-368, which is the amendment to C-47. So it was a positive, and them wanting to remove natural health care products and just reword things a little bit different within that budget bill, C-47, so that it kind of exempts them out of the crazy expectations and understands that natural health products are different than pharmaceuticals. So that was a win. And then I talked about C-293, an act of prevention and preparedness, which is not a win. Please go watch this episode, because basically they're wanting to be able to, by law, do what they did for the pandemic, and we know that that wasn't good. So that's terrifying. Then we have a win at the end of this episode. It's Bill S-12, and in this episode, that legislation was actually really positive, where it was putting the more power in the hands of victims of sexual and domestic abuse. It's basically that the victim gets to decide what is shared publicly, what isn't, what is shared with the perpetrator, a bunch of stuff that protects more of the victims and puts the ball more in their court when it comes to their story and their case, which I thought was really great. So that was a positive one at the time. And then moving forward into season 8, I had Maya on the show. She is someone that I found during the fires in Kelowna that was speaking out about what was going on. But at the same time, she was offering remedies to help with all the smoke and all that. And I just absolutely fell in love with the wealth of knowledge that she has, how much she's always speaking the truth and seeking it, regardless if it's popular. We talked about mob mentality and how that kind of happens a lot on all sides of the spectrum, and how it kind of makes you feel a little bit like you don't know what side you're on because everywhere you go, it seems that there's something. So really beautiful conversation with another Kelowna local babe that I absolutely adore. So make sure to go listen to that. It's number 10. That's the first one in season 8 of Keeping Up with Canada. And then again, I have Christopher back on from Open Minds in number 11. We talk about the upcoming elections again, the political state where everything is in Canada. We dive deeper into things like safe supply because y'all, like I've said a million times, please go watching Dying in Canada by Aaron Gunn on YouTube. It shows just pretty much all the lies about harm reduction and safe supply, and it's, not doing what we think it is. And, I truly believe that if more Canadians were understanding to what's going on with the drug crisis in the country, then maybe they would understand a little bit more where Trump's coming from. Again, not saying that I love everything that he's doing or all that, but he's not wrong about the drug problem. Come on, you guys, you can get crack pipes outside of a hospital in Nanaimo. Can't get diabetes or insulin, but you can get a crack pipe. That's not safe. It's not helping anybody. Imagine being sober and walking past that, trying to get treatment in the hospital. Like, it's just disgusting. And we also talk about immigration, which is huge, huge, huge. It was really nice. As a white girl, I joke about that I can't talk about it, but I should be able to. And as well as him as a, child of first wave immigrants. I believe that was. Sorry, Christopher, if I'm wrong. Please don't hate me. I'm not racist. And what that's like and how he feels like, he can speak on it, but also is he held to speak on it. So again, another really great conversation between the two of us, and expect to see him again in season 9. And then the last series of Keeping Up with Canada on the podcast, at least for now, I think forever probably, that is going to move over to YouTube, is I talk about gun control and the continual pull of firearms from legal citizens. And is that doing anything? Is that helping? Because crime doesn't seem to be down. So I talk about a little bit of statistics about that. I also talk about abortion from the lens of someone that has fertility and where I come from, and just the conversations from my understanding of where Canada will be when it comes to abortions. To my understanding, nothing will change if the administration here changes, but let's see. I also talk about freedom of speech or lack thereof and censorship, and how wild it is. Just personally being someone, I don't make any money. I'm not a big creator. Why are you censoring me? Why do you think people don't really care that much about my opinion? Why do you censor me? And then I also talk about the famous Green Slush Fund that the Liberal government and all the money and corruption that's there. Like, I guess really, but please don't hate me, because I feel like I've kind of already been like Elon Musk and Doge in Canada, because I've been calling out, and we've been calling out, the corruption, the overspend, and the bullshit within our own country for the last couple of years. So like, what are you going to say about me now? Okay, so that is that series. Now let's go through what in the actual internet. Now again, guys, this was created so that I had some space to talk about Hollywood stuff. Just this last September, I joined TikTok, and just where can I talk about the insanity that I find online, that I don't have to deep dive stuff, but I could just spit off, because pop culture is super important. And so what in the actual internet filler episodes were born. And like I said, I was able to then have guests or not have guests, which was really great, because I just didn't know what to expect doing this all by myself. But if you want to go back to these episodes, have a look and see. Again, don't know why I keep looking over here. I'm so used to. Anyways, so the first episode, now this started in season 7 and lasted all the way through season 8. And like I said, is going over to YouTube now, rebranding as Internet Insanity. Okay, so number 1, I talk about JonBenét Ramsey. At the time, they had opened up the case again, and a lot of stuff was happening, and stuff is still happening. So there will be a follow-up on the YouTube channel about JonBenét Ramsey and what's going on. I need to catch myself up. I've watched some of it, but I need to catch y'all up. We talk about the worst YouTube mom on planet Earth, Ruby. Well, maybe not really, but one of the OG worst mommy vloggers, Ruby Franke, 8 Passengers, her downfall into prison and where she stayed, and her horrible helper friend there. We talk about feederism. Now, feederism is a combination of, I believe, one of the darkest kinks out there, and deep body positivity, where they have people convinced that eating yourself to death is sexy. That is an actual thing. I talk about it in number 1 of One in the Actual Internet at the beginning of season 7. Then in the second episode, I talk about Nickelodeon and everything that was going on there at the time. The documentary came out. I cannot remember his fucking name right now. It's driving me nuts. But anyways, documentary came out about all of the things that happened with Nickelodeon. So we dive into key players of the sorry, this is by myself. I don't know why I say all the weird shit that we see in the things we didn't see, like Dan Schneider and all the different executives that were known pedophiles that were still brought in to places or just moved around to Disney or something else, which is just fucked. But I mean, considering our history, we knew that. Number 3, I bring our fave babe, Holly G, back on the show. You guys will have known Holly through the whole every single season. Holly is on one, if not at least once a year, if not on multiple times. And I talk about Honey Boo Boo. We talk about some music industry lore like 50 Cent, saying some funny things. And then we also talk about YouTuber who faked her hate and a bunch of stuff to get online clout. Just crazy stuff and a crazy great. It was the first time I brought Holly on and we were bringing stories to each other. And so maybe I'll bring her back on for a random episode in season 9 where we do the same thing. Even though this series is moving, we can still talk about the random stuff because we just love Holly G on the show and keep up on her life. Next, I did one by myself where I talked about a fake pregnancy and fake miscarriage stunt that a YouTuber did who thought that was really funny and she didn't understand why the internet thought it was in poor taste. Gross. I also talk about funny internet language that I don't understand, like what soft guy era was in Drizzle Drizzle. And then I talk about a girl that was found, very young woman. I think she was in her early 20s. She was found on her couch, completely. She just melted into the couch. She was very her parents weren't feeding her. They had found some pretty nasty things. She was eating the couch. She was eating, I'm not even gonna, anyways, it's probably the nastiest story I've ever heard. This poor woman essentially was just dying on her couch and her parents didn't care about her and left her there to just essentially literally rot to death and fuse to her couch. And her neighbors had no idea. They just thought that she maybe went away to college or, they didn't even think any about it. And the parents just lived their house. Their house was totally normal except for the couch that she didn't get up on and she literally died there. These people are fucking disgusting. Then we carry on with number 5 with Clinton Kane and Brooke Schofield drama. Oh gosh. Okay. So Clinton Kane being a music artist, allegedly Brooke was dating him. They both did series on each other, where basically they both said they were liars. It was just really big at the time. I had just been really kind of watching the Canceled podcast with Brooke and Tana. At the same time, Tana was going through stuff. She had revealed that she had slept with another YouTuber, Cody Ko, when she was a minor. And obviously, that's disgusting. That's gross. Don't do that. So that was big at the time as well. So I kind of covered that. And now it sounds like he might be trying to make his return to YouTube and all of that and kind of just brush right over it. Doesn't matter. But it does. I think you could at least acknowledge that that wasn't good. But anyways, your choice. That was a choice. Then I talk about Dr. Disrespect. Again, this has gone back and forth since then about did he do it, did he not? But allegedly he'd been speaking to a minor on this secret chat thing on Twitch, I believe it is. He's a huge gamer, so gross. But back and forth, if this is alleged, I don't know. There's so much, you guys. Like I said, it's hard to keep up with all of this, but this was just at the time. There was proof of I Am Alex, another huge YouTuber, being abusive to his girlfriend. Again, catching this shit on video, which thank God, but what the fuck? I'm so glad. I didn't do anything like this or stupid, but man, I'm so glad that all of my stupid shit isn't on video. And then we also talk about another influencer who lied about cancer and she got called out and she was in court and had to pay all the money back. Thank God. Number 6 of what in the actual internet was Cults with Haley. For those that have been around, season 5, we did a whole month. We talked about Scientology, NXIVM, Children of God, all of that. This is just a follow-up to that with the most popular cults that are now, I believe, called religious movements. I can't quite remember, but they've rebranded. Cults is now an offensive word. I'm sure I'm going to get canceled for that. And then we have Holly G back on again, number 7, because number 7 is her lucky number with us. Most of her episodes have a 7 in it. And we talk about lore and legends. So what did I do? I went to the internet and I found the weirdest lore and legends I can find. And what did beautiful, sweet, innocent, well, not really innocent, hers were really dark. She went and actually found lores and legends, actual ones with mystical creatures and all that. And I was talking about conspiracies in the music industry. So again, both coming with different lores and legends and, conspiracy theories and all that as we do. It was a really fun episode with me and Holly G. And then number 8, just before Christmas, again, this is probably going to be super outdated, even though why isn't anybody still talking about this? But number 8 was Did He or Didn't He? And that was my Diddy update of what was going on at the time, everything that I knew. But again, this is early December. A lot has gone on since, but also silence. So like, why? What's going on? I only hear bits and pieces, so I'm going to have to dive in for the YouTube show and learn a little bit more of what's going on there, get you guys updated, get myself updated. And then number 9, I talk about a bunch of random shit that I found online, including Britney Spears claiming she was 5 years old and saying she's moving to Mexico. Talked about how we need to just leave Justin Bieber alone. If he wants to come out and talk about what's happened with him and Diddy, he can. If not, can we just let the man be a father? But then we look forward, and now he's not looking so great. You know, there's rumors of divorce. I mean, there's always rumors of divorce. Who knows? But it just, yeah, he's not looking good unless that's AI generated. But I don't think the Biebs are doing good, so maybe we should just leave him alone a bit. Maybe. I don't know what you guys think. I talked about his kind of little bit seeming lunatic. Some things sound like they make sense and other things don't. Father-in-law Baldwin. I don't know if you guys need entertainment or like to feel like you're a bit normal, but definitely go check him out on TikTok because holy bananas, that's a whole other ball game. And I also talk about Ariana Grande and how, for one, sorry, just don't love her. I'm not an Arianator. Bothers me how, I feel for her man's ex and baby mama, and talk about that a little bit and how she must feel with all the wicked promotion, knowing that her marriage had ended. And then I speak very incorrectly about the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively situation, because at the time it was just when Blake had sent all of that complaint out. And I was like, see, you guys, it's not like, I thought they were both shit, but I definitely felt more vindicated because I didn't understand the Blake Lively hate. Now I understand it. I actually hate both of them, and I just wish this would fucking end already, and it's driving me absolutely insane. And another thing that I was like, I'm going to stop talking about because there's so much that I have no idea. But these are just rich people doing rich people things, keeping us distracted. So don't listen to that part of the episode. I was completely out of line and wrong. And then the final one of the series, it was the final of the whole entire season, was about shitty online parents with my baby Hales. We talked about Rosalia Jenkins, the lore that is Ash Trevino that never stops loring, Nurse Hannah, aka 17 Diapers Lady, and the couple, a gay couple from the Americas that hurt their special needs children and are in prison for a very, 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 very long time. Some of the most disgusting parenting shit that we've seen on social media to date, and I absolutely fucking hate it. And I will be updating you guys on shit like that in the YouTube series, as mentioned. Oh my gosh, you guys, I really hope this episode fucking turns out after all this. But just quickly, let's go through a high level. You could be done if you guys want to, but just give me 5-10 minutes here and let's just go through the seasons and what that looks like if you're wanting to go back. So in season 1, from episodes 1 to 39, it was all audio. We talked about things like body dysmorphia, anxiety, mental health, depression, miscarriage, pregnancy, childbirth, motherhood. We dive more into motherhood in season 2, but we talked about it a bit here. We talked about the fitness industry and all different aspects. We talked about cannabis, what it's like to smoke it, work in it, medical, recreational, and of course, sex, talk about working in it, just self-love, all those kind of things. That was season 1. Season 2 was 35 to 53. That was in the fall of 2021. We talked about different pressures like marital pressures, work pressures, parenting or lack thereof, pressures, all those kind of things, gender pressures. We talked about parenting, co-parenting, single parenting. We talked about adoption. We talked about surrogacy. We talked about all the different type of addictions. So alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals, social media, all those different types of addictions. The first episode that we had for Botox Industry with Gretch, Botox Injury, episode 49 with Gretch. That is the #1 listen episode. It's probably going to be at like 350 by the time this episode posts. We also talk about breast implant illness for the very first time, as I mentioned, with Bella and my girlfriend Danielle, that I grew up with. And we also had our first Vax injury episode on here as well. Super proud of us because at the time that was very not something you were allowed to talk about, right? At end of 2021, imagine that. We post those 3 things in a row. Like, okay, we need to start talking about informed consent. Let's start talking about things that we talk about in the background. Now that you guys have fallen in love with us and see that we're really unhinged, crazy, normal Canadians that are just trying to learn shit. So that was season 2, starting to advocate more for informed consent. And then season 3 was our final audio season. And this is the one that we decided, you know what, it's time to talk about politics and what's going on. So we had our first 8-hour episode with Canadians and my American girlfriend talking about what it's like to be unvaccinated during the pandemic. And then we also started talking to everybody with businesses, whether it was a small businesses in Alberta, fitness coaches, what it was like, and what was it like to mentally handle all of that during the pandemic and the lockdowns. We talked about breast implant illness a couple times. Again, we talked about healthy alternatives to pharmaceuticals. We talked about big pharma quite a bit. We started speaking more about conspiracy theories like Pizzagate and all the ties to Hollywood and Disney and all that weird sexualization. The first time we talked about WIF, and I got banned on YouTube. We started talking about fake news. Again, see some of the common themes that are coming out after, right? We had a series of women helping women. So women coming on talking about hormone health, like birth control, about brain health. We talked about intentional living, all that kind of stuff. We also talked about and interviewed Elizabeth in Shanghai and what was lockdowns like there. We also had Dr. Amanda Savage Brown come on and talk about being an explant therapist and her book, and being an explant patient as well. Amazing episode there, especially if you're looking into explanting yourself. And we also had Sasha on, that was down boots on the ground in Ottawa for the Freedom Convoy, and telling us what it was actually like. I don't know why it keeps doing that. What it was actually like to be in Ottawa at the time. Then in season 4, yes, I'm drinking a bad energy drink, not sponsored by anyone, but I mean, I wouldn't be mind if Reign. I know it's not good, guys, but it's one of the only kind of bad things that I have. And considering this is the second time I'm recording today, and I have 2 episodes to record tomorrow, we're doing it. Season 4 is episodes 81 to 104. So we get more political. We talk about Kids at Drag. This is where we have some more co-hosts coming in. We talk about politics in general, what it was like during COVID. We talk about vaccine injury again, which is super important. We had the RKH Reminder, as I mentioned, on the first time. We had Lindsay talking about homeschooling for the first time. You guys really loved that episode. We talked about Epstein Island and Hollyweird more, which you guys absolutely loved. We talked about how are we being programmed? What are the things we need to look at? And we talked about side effects of porn, the sex industry, the clown world we're living in, and social media. The first time Dusty was on the show. And that was our first, again, I don't know if I said that was our first video season. So that was super exciting to be able to bring video and Riverside where I am today and what you're looking at right now. And then season 4 starts the evolution to now season 9. I should do a little compilation of the changes in my personal studio. Obviously, everyone else's studio has changed over the times as well. Then in season 5, the last season with all of us together in season 4, then it turns out just me and Hales, which is just me. So it's 105 to 145, the season of nonstop episodes. So we did a bunch of research episodes, and then we sprinkled them in with interviews because I wanted to do both. So we talked about things like cults, like I said. We had vaccine injuries on. We talked about government operations like mind control and war stuff and Earth stuff, all those fucking weird operations. Then we talked about the opioid crisis, more BII talk, of course. We talked about the mental health crisis. We had the Canadian frontline nurses on. We talked about off-labeling and things like Ozempic and how dangerous that can be. We started talking about grooming several times. What is grooming? What does that look like? We talked about trafficking and the sex industry and all the different kind of like worries that we had in that area. We talked about missing people quite a bit, especially at the time and still to this day. I have a missing friend from the island, Amber. We go into a little bit more into that. And then we talk about standards from men and women. And then that ended season 5. And then we started season 6 with just myself and Haley. And we started it and ended it with breast implant illness, which again, huge topic for me on the show. Keeping Up with Canada started. We talked about the beauty industry, plastic surgery, the first anti-MLM episode with Kalika. I finally got some balls and posted in season 6. Haley did her first interview as well, which was an amazing episode. We got to meet Terry Fox for the first time, and all my Canadian friends finding out that he is a legend from Colorado and not the Canadian legend coming back as a ghost. And we talk about acupuncture and the dangers of Botox again. We talk about parenting, and Haley and Dusty get into parenting as well a little bit more. Me and Hales talk about the meaning behind some of our most famous holidays and what they actually mean. We dive deeper into the Soji program with some mamas in Port Alberni, my mom included. We also have Starsan on the show for the first time. If you guys are not following Lady Starsan on Instagram, make sure that you do. Amazing, one of my favorite artists, YouTubers, and just all around person that calls out the body positivity movement. We also have Sarah Khan. You can find her on social media. Sarah is huge with spirituality. She is such a healer, such a beautiful person. It's such a funny contrast when I watch our episode, because obviously I'm like a squirrel on crack cocaine and she's just this beautiful, chill, like what I believe Mother Nature is like in human form. And so it's really funny to watch us bounce off each other with such big energies, but just different avenues of how that's delivered, which is beautiful. And then also we ended the season with Amber, the author of The Obedient Daughter, which is an amazing book that you guys should read. She did an amazing job spreading awareness on what it was like to be abused as a child sexually. And I just think it is an episode and a book that y'all don't want to miss, because majority of us either have been, know somebody, or are with somebody that has been abused. And Amber is such a strong, beautiful woman that just goes through it and shares her story and is trying to help others heal at the same time. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human being. So that's it, you guys. It's so ironic that the second recording is actually longer than the first one. I thought it was going to be shorter. I can't do it, but hopefully it looks like it's recording. Fingers crossed, guys, because if I have to do this again, I'm going to be fucking pissed. I love y'all, but to have to repeat that again, I hope I caught it all. Anyways, that is what the past looked like. That's what the future is going to look like. As always, guys, thank you so much from the bottom of my fucking cold heart for all the love and support. And just a reminder, if you made it all this way, that if you are watching on Rumble or YouTube, because I'm going to post this one on YouTube and then carry on with just the Be Real Babe show, but I wanted to give an update. So this is going to be on both. But if you are watching, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, whether that's Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Make sure if you do love the show to leave a review, because that really, really helps me get out there in the podcast platforms. Social media is a way to get to people, but if you constantly are interacting with my show, it will put me out there to new people. So please make sure you are doing that on those platforms. And if you are looking to get to me and you want to talk to me, you can find me on Instagram or TikTok at the Be Real Babe, or you can email me at berealcollective@outlook.com. Thank you guys again so much. I cannot wait to get this season started, dive in with all the guests, all the changes. As always, I'm here to listen. Tell me what you think. Let me know. Reach out to me in my DMs, comment in the comment sections. But until next time, guys, bye.